Hello, this is a training video for Wincom Watermarking 2.0. This app adds watermarks on top of any PDF contained within Windchill, and this training video will help you to understand how to both invoke the app and also to configure it. Let's take a quick look at the architecture of the app. So the app is going to apply a template over the top of a PDF. So this is an overlay. The templates are designed in one of three languages, XML, SVG or Jaspersoft, and these languages allow us to define images, text, rotations, opacity, and this gives us the template to apply on top of a PDF. For the user, when the user requests a PDF, they can be requesting a PDF that is immediately watermarked, and we're going to demonstrate how you do that. The quickest way to access the watermark is something called a data utility. This is a new column that's added to any table within Windchill using the view configuration, and what we're going to do is show you how you do that now on a live Windchill 11 system. Here we have a Windchill 11 system with two test documents in them. These documents have PDFs as primary contents, and we're going to use this during our examples, but we could also watermark representations on parts or drawings or CAD documents. So this is really just to demonstrate how the process of watermarking works. Standard document columns, so this is the download PDF column, this is the direct access to the documents itself. So what we're going to do is go to the customize a view, bring the views up in our system, and we can see we have the standard views. We're going to take the all view and we're going to save it as a new view, and we're going to call our new view watermark. There you go, watermarking. Once we have this, we're going to go directly to the column, and once we install the app, one of the things we'll have access to is a new data utility called Watermarking Quick. We're going to add this to our list. We'll put it a little bit further up the options here to just after the indicator. We'll hit finish, and now we have our new watermark. If I hit OK on this, accept that, switch us over to the new view, and there we can see our watermark column available. Watermark, we simply click on the icon, and up comes the watermarked version. This template has got some dynamic watermarking in it, so that means we have the exact time that I requested the watermark, we've put an image, we've put some rotated text. But you can see that we actually haven't watermarked the internal contents. If I access the raw PDF, you can see we still have access to the PDF without the watermark. Let's try a slightly different type of document. This is an A4 portrait generated from Word, and if I take this, you can see that we've applied the same kind of watermark, but this time it will be applied to the Word document, and if there's multiple pages, it will be applied to every single page of the document. Way of giving us instant access to watermarked versions of PDFs within Windchill. There's no setup, there's no queues, there's no publishing. It's basically on-demand watermarking. However, quick access links aren't the only way to get hold of a watermark content. We also have a little bit more sophisticated user interface which allows us to play with the types of layouts we're going to apply and other activities on removing and adding content to the actual internal architecture of Windchill. Here's our two documents again. Just going to pick the menu option, and when we select on this, we'll pop up the new window. So on this new wizard, we have a few more options available to us. Again, we can just download the watermark content, but in this case, we can actually have the choice of one or more layouts. And the layout we have here is an example layout, but we can have a few layouts, and we'll describe later in the training how to configure more layouts. We also have more information to things like associated parts. That's quite clear. We'll get the same features we had before, which was download, but we have a new feature. This is now overwrite content. This one does something different. If we select OK, the wizard closes, and you can see now we have a message that the content now contains a watermark. What does this mean? Well, it means that the PDF which is internally held in Windchill is now watermarked. This means that users who would normally access this will only be able to access a watermarked copy. Only if they have access to be able to update the internal content of the document can they change this. You can now change the internal content PDF. You also realize what the remove watermark must do. So we've added a content there, and now we have the options of removing it, thus reverting back to our original PDF. So if I click on the remove watermark, I then click on the PDF again, you can see now the internal document is no longer watermarked. Now that you've seen that we can change the internal content of the PDF and therefore change the database PDF, you can now understand why we need this final option. This allows us to revert back to an unwatermarked copy of the PDF. So if I select on this, I then select the PDF again, you will see that we're now back to a document which is no longer watermarked. Now you've seen how we access the watermarks, let's have a look under the covers and see how they're actually configured. We use XML documents to configure the watermarks, and those XML documents can be applied to different paper sizes. So if you're going to watermark an A4, you're going to watermark an A0, you may well want different dimensions and slightly different layout patterns, and so we apply those by having different folder structures for those. But we also have a default one, so in this particular exercise we're going to be playing with this example layout at default. If you look at the bottom, you can see it's not a very difficult XML to read. It clearly specifies the various text you want, and it has various options to allow you to do things like rotate it, change the size, change the colors. We're going to do a little bit of playing on this just to see how we can change this. We have a lot of flexibility here to also call functions, and those functions can access internal metadata of the object, and we can do an awful lot in order to add different data on this. And you can also see that this bottom image here allows us to add quite complicated images, and you can do all sorts of interesting things like adding signatures, adding images of people, even to documentation. So you have a lot of flexibility of how to use these watermarking layouts. Let's play with some layouts a little bit to see how we can change how the layout looks on the watermarked PDF. In the background you can see we have our example, so we have some text in orange, and we have an image which is placed on top of the watermark on top of the PDF too. So here we have the layout itself, and you can see it's got some quite simple to read details here. So what I'm going to do is just change a little bit of these details. So I'm going to make the opacity a little darker, so the image is strong, the text is stronger on this PDF, and I'm also going to do something like simply change the color. Now the PDF is immediately watermarked, so I don't need to do anything except save the layout, refresh the back page, and immediately you can see our changes have been applied. So we have a red color which is much darker than before. In addition to changing just the formatting of the watermark, we can actually change the data. So clearly I can type in some new data like Acme, and you can also see that some of the data here is actually tags. So these tags represent metadata that's coming out of the system, and we can configure this with whatever metadata we wish, and we can write Java functions to be able to pull out the metadata and place it in this layout. So if I just apply this to see how this works, we just go back here, and you can immediately see that we have our new Acme applied as a watermark. Using these new layouts in the user interface. If you remember, we had this interface here, and this interface just had one simple example layout here. We've now learned how to configure new layouts in the XML, so we've configured our new Acme layout, and all we need to do to make it appear in the user interface is to add it to the properties file. So here you can see our original layout one, and here's going to be our new Acme one. And once we've saved this file, gone to our user interface, gone to our Wincom apps, refresh, that will load the properties back. Let's get rid of that screen there, go back into our watermarking. So here we go, our watermarking test, back into our folder, and this time we'll bring up the example reports again. So there's the watermarking content. Bring it up, and this time we have our two layouts. Let's open up this PDF. You can see this is a different usage of the watermarking engine. So instead of putting a light watermark across the face of the document, we're actually putting an image directly over something like the text box of a drawing. So this gives you an idea of some of the other things we can use this engine for. Presentation, you can see that we've done the architecture, accessing the user interface and configuring templates. Let's have a quick look at some automation. Workflow is a very important part of how we may configure this app. So you may want, and it's quite a frequent occurrence, is that documents or parts or drawings should be watermarked automatically when they're sent to released. So this is typically part of a promotion request approval workflow, and therefore we have configured in the app some robots, and these robots allow you to basically pick your layout and then add this robot directly into the workflow, and that means that the workflow will watermark the content of the documents or the drawings, and then we'll have those permanently watermarked within the system. That you may want to take an existing system that has no watermarks in it and apply a lot of watermarks, and therefore what we've done here is created what we call the mass watermark tool, and this will take a option to be able to apply a watermark to, for example, all the documents within a container. Thank you for taking the time to have a look at this video. I hope it's been informative. If you have any further questions or any doubts, then please don't hesitate to contact us, the team at Wincom, and we'll be delighted to help you.